Hey guys, yesterday Emily said that she wanted to make a video about what she wanted to find at a yard sale. I love yard sales, but even more than yard sales, I love thrift stores. I love going to thrift stores, finding used things that are interesting to me. I don't know if I remember showing you my silver ring, but I actually found this in a thrift store, believe it or not. Pretty awesome, huh? Another thing I found recently in a thrift store was this chest. It looks so cool, right? And old. I bought it for $5, and what I do is I keep my Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo video games in there, the loose cards that I don't have any boxes for. So, for the entire week I've been reading Edgar Allan Poe, and I finished 5 short stories of Edgar Allan Poe. And I don't know if on my list of stories that I've been reading this year to list them as 5 different stories or as like one block of Edgar Allan Poe stories. So I don't know, I'm still debating on what to do. And I'm not really going to review all 5 of them in this video because that would be crazy. The first one was The Unparalleled Adventure of One Hans Bald, and it's about a man who takes a hot air balloon to the moon. The second story that I read was The Balloon Hoax, which is about a group of people who took a hot air balloon across the Atlantic Ocean. The third thing was Mesmeric Revelation, which is essentially a story about this person who's dying and wants to be mesmerized so that he can give really true answers about life. And I guess his soul, while in a state of mesmerization, had some insightful things to say about life. The next story I read was MS, Found in a Bottle. MS stands for Message in a Bottle. It's basically about a man who, I guess, was lost at sea. The rest of the people on his ship had died. And he ended up stranded on a ghost ship, so to speak. Yeah, that's about the gist of it. Then it was A Descent into the Maelstrom. And this story was about, I guess, this whirlpool type thing in the water, which made really strong currents and everything gets sucked into it, like bears and trees and ships. And about this guy who had the unfortunate experience of being caught on a ship heading, into the Maelstrom thing. Well, I guess I read 6 because I had forgotten about this one. Von Kempelen and His Discovery, in which a guy is claimed to have been able to make gold out of lead. I don't know if you guys know this about me, but I love silver. Silver is very cool. My ring is sterling silver, and I collect silver coins. I have 2 silver dimes, which are pretty awesome. Silver is being found at a lower and lower rate every single year, and they're actually finding it at less of a rate than they're finding gold. So I think, into the future, looking forward, one day silver might be worth more than gold. In the days of the Romans and the Greeks, it was considered a normal day's wages to pay 1 silver dime a day. Well, what you would consider a dime in their money, not our money, but it was a small piece of silver, and that silver was valuable, had enough value for a day's wages, and I thought that was cool. Why do I bring this up? Because in the story about Van Kempelen, they talk about how this change from lead to gold will rise the price of lead, lower the price of gold, and also rise the price of silver, because as gold gets more and more abundant, it becomes less valuable, and the next rarest metal or rarest precious metal becomes more valuable. Just one sentence I would like to read, which is pretty interesting, is a discovery which declares in so many words that beyond its intrinsic worth for manufacturing purposes, gold now is, or at least will be, of no greater value than lead, and of far inferior value to silver. Of course, alchemy is not real, and you can't make lead into gold, but I thought that sentence, written way back in the 1800s was really cool because the price of silver is going up, and, Edgar Allan Poe is actually a bit ahead of his time. I mean, writing about taking a hot air balloon from, England all the way to America, in the 1800s, Lindbergh didn't do that till 1927. And writing about going to the moon on a hot air balloon in the 1800s, Americans didn't do that with their Apollo missions until the times of JFK in the 1900s. So Edgar Allan Poe was way ahead of his time. I mean, the things he was writing about, I guess to the people at the time, they must have been like, whoa, this is something, completely ridiculous and impossible. And, currently, you can't take a hot air balloon to the moon, but things are possible. And the things that Edgar Allan Poe had written about, which seemed impossible at the time, are now possible. And I think, he was just one of those writers that's way ahead of his time. And yes, out of all the stories I read, only one seemed to be of a scary nature. The other ones more seemed to be of an explorative or an exciting nature, which I really didn't expect because I'm not really familiar with the entire works of Edgar Allan Poe. I've read The Raven and The Telltale Heart, and I guess I'm biased because of those. I thought he was going to be a scarier writer, but I actually liked reading the little bit that I read, and I hope to come back to these stories and read more. Alright, so that's all I have really to say this week. Kirsten and Aaron, I'll see you later this week. Everyone else, I'll see you next week.